in the early days of a new business, I think it's about not expecting you to have an idea, finding external resources or finding people can solve the problem 100%, because many problems are jointly defined and solved by the entire founder team. For example, what does your product want to solve for customers? What kind of problem? What kind of customers to choose? So what kind of service do you want to provide to customers through your product or your service team? What is the value of your service? How is the value of the service delivered with tools or by hand, which is the ultimate goal, which is the goal of the process? Then these agreements are actually etched in everyone's head, so that when there's a disagreement or a ambiguity in the process of operation, can start from the beginning. The end is the beginning, except the status quo, and full of hope throughout the operation process. After completing the top-level design of the entire business blueprint, to start with the end in mind, design the entire path and framework. What does the founding team have to do? In fact, make sure you rely on the resources you already have. Step by step, move towards the keynotes in this path. In that case, let the organization continuously approach the whole blueprint. But there are a lot of detours. We have to get rid of the unrealistic idea that there are shortcuts. What about each individual and organization? In fact, they all have their own, or he needs to go through the detours he has to take by himself. Only in this way can we find certainty about the fit between individuals and organizations. So throughout this process, you will become more and more aware of what you want. Don't want anything, which roads can be taken, which roads are impossible to take, which roads can others take, but you can't go, and you can go and determine which roads are actually very difficult to walk, but you must go. What about this certainty? You must have run away from actual combat rather than being held by certain people or certain ideas. Let's not assume that it was designed either. So in the whole state of mind, allow yourself to have this total certainty of coming out of the chaos of the short term. Then use this process to sift through the appropriate organizational capabilities and the optimal solution to the current problem. The basic logic of company development proposed by Ren Zhenfei is that the direction is roughly correct. The organization is dynamic. Then I extend to interpret it. In fact, even if it is a direction, he can only be roughly correct, can't be absolutely correct. And the direction can be constantly revised in the course of our operation. But the vitality of the organization is the premise of ensuring that we get closer to the general direction and the overall goal. It can be full of positives, full of energy. It's full of energy. Quickly respond to market and target changes. It is a basic safeguard, so there's no organizational vitality. All strategies are empty talk. In the early days of the business, what I shouldn't think too much about is the boundaries of collaboration of the entire internal team. It is how to make an optimal combination of individual strengths and the specific problems that the company needs to solve at this stage. That is to say, we have to play to the strengths of the teammates and comrades we choose at this stage. To solve the problems the company wants to solve, the best time or point to consider the issue of boundaries, I think there are only two. The first is from the MVP stage of the ER business, from the stage of pattern verification, a stage that requires large-scale growth. That is to say, the requirements for the organization from it has to run smoothly. From wanting to run smoothly to me wanting to be both smooth and efficient to run efficiently. Then the other one is from the function. Or if we look at the phenomenon, the function seems clear, but the whole organization is getting bigger and bigger. They don't solve real problems. At that time, it is actually necessary to change from the requirements of the organization from more people and more strength to preferring lack rather than abuse. At this time, the organization itself is actually redundant. The whole division of labor is unreasonable. So these two are a boundary, I think, to think about. A signal to recall